My name is Frankus.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Hi.
I'm Lateishah.
So I am the vocalist for Until the Avalanche. Unfortunately, the other guys could not join. We are split between three different states. So originally we're from El Paso, Texas, but life. And so our guitar player Fernando actually lives in Phoenix. He's got like a full-time job he's like a counselor for like underprivileged children and families.
Oh,
So he
wow.
does like yeah, he's got like his masters in everything. Like he does pretty much like what you were talking about. That's what
Yeah.
he's doing, but he does it out there. So
Oh, that's incredible.
yeah.
So, how does that dynamic work for you guys being apart?
So it sucks because I miss my guys a lot. So originally when we got together, we all lived pretty close to each other. And then like when COVID and everything happened, it kind of put a damper on everything. And that's kind of where the split kind of happened because he was going for his master's in like the counseling and all that other stuff. And then I was working like at that time I wasn't working full time, and then our we got a replacement guitar player who lives in El Paso still. So being split sucks. We do find time and we talk like on a consistent basis. So it's
Mhm.
not like it's like we go long periods of time without talking. But just being able to like bounce ideas off of each other is the hardest part because we have to send everything either via email or like texting and sending videos to each other of like what we're working on. So yeah.
Right, and then you kind of have to like wait for the other people to respond and makes
And
it
when
a bit of a
life
long thing.
lives, it sucks.
It, it really does. Yeah, absolutely. I think you kind of shared that in maybe a more recent TikTok that life was lifing.
Oh yeah. I've because we've been trying to find ways to post content that we haven't already done is like one of like the
Mhm.
biggest things. And like my guys have access to the page, but because they're so busy, I'm the only one who has like who's on consistently enough. Where I'm like
Right.
commenting on people's stuff and liking and promoting and pushing it just because like I have a lot of free time with 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 life compared to them.
Yeah, no, and I totally get that. Well, you certainly reached my For You page.
I
Something
know,
you're
like
doing is working.
so cool. I know TikTok has done wonders for us, and honestly, like we didn't expect for it to be the way it is. So, like a little bit of back history about UTA, we started like close to 10 years ago. So we've been around for a while. Initially, I joined the band. They were a different name. They didn't have a vocalist. We recorded one of our first song, or like wrote one of our first songs. It's actually a song that we still play to this day.
Okay.
And right as we released our album Malevolent Eyes, we released it first, like hard copies and stuff. And our drummer at the time, he actually got into like a lot of legal trouble. And so he had his family kind of forced him to move to Austin. So it kind of everything kind of came to like a sudden stop because we had so much momentum, like we were planning on doing all this stuff, and then it kind of just like everything was just like screeching halt. And it was really difficult for us to kind of figure out and navigate what we were gonna do. We found like other people to fill in, and then like we had people leave the band because obviously we weren't doing anything. So the only original two members are me and Fernando. I don't even know. We released Malevolent Eyes originally, I want to say late 2018, I think. Actually, I can look at it. It doesn't have the date on it. And then with COVID happening and us not being able to travel, and then us being getting split at that time was just really hard. We did go out there a few times, like after the restrictions were lifted. We had a drummer kind of fill in for us to play shows. It was okay. It got us by for a little bit and gave us some time to like figure out what we were gonna do. One thing that Fernando as well as myself wanted to do is keep the integrity of the band and finding people who felt as passionately about making the music that we do. And then either that and not being in other projects was like a huge thing because I felt that if we were getting people from other bands to join, I didn't want to pull from their creative aspect of writing for someone else. I felt like it would be selling themselves short. Like let all of that energy and all that creativity go towards what you want to do and not just fill in for us and then wear yourself out. And then with COVID happening, and then we started to kind of start writing new material, it kind of came to another screeching halt. I I don't know if you've seen the videos about I don't really talk about it on UTA's page very much, but at the end of 2022, I was diagnosed with end-stage liver cirrhosis.
Mm.
And so I got really, really sick. I wasn't expected to make it out of the hospital. It was really, really difficult. My drinking and partying had became so excessive because at that time I wasn't doing anything. There's a lot more to like the backstory with that, and we can touch on it, but that's kind of where TikTok kind of took off with UTA is I wasn't working because physically I wasn't able to do anything. So I took to TikTok, Twitter to start posting my story because at that time, like, I didn't know what liver cirrhosis was. I didn't know at that time they had only given me about a year to live. And
Mm.
so I was like, I'm gonna make the most of what I have. For the majority of that first year, I was still trying to navigate the recovery part of it, and being
Right.
in that headspace mentally was just really difficult. Towards the back half of that first year was when TikTok, like I created the UTA TikTok, and I
Sure.
was like, I'm just gonna start reposting it. I took down the original Malevolent Eyes and I reposted it, and it was like it didn't get its dues. Like we released it and it got a little attention when we first initially released it, and then when everything came to that stop, like I felt like I was selling ourselves short. We re-released it, and then TikTok just took off with it. I have no idea how any of it happened. I didn't expect people to even really care. Like I was just putting it out there just to put it out there. And then
Mm.
it just kind of took a life of its own. And one thing I think that kind of set us apart from like initially, and I still think it carries over now, is like I'm the one who's like responding back. Like it's not like some management company or it's not,
Yeah.
some random automated thing. Like every comment that we see, like I try to respond as quick as possible, and just that like personality of being able to communicate. And that's why like everyone who follows us, we follow back. Like that was one thing that I learned when we first started doing TikTok was like I want to be able to give back. Like music for us is not just like yes, it's something that we eventually want it to be like a full-time job, but being able to give back even in the smallest ways affects people's lives greatly. That's pretty much where we're at now, um, with writing new material and all that stuff.
For sure. Yeah, that's definitely something I noticed once you kind of popped up on my social media was the way that you responded to people that were commenting. And creating that connection is so beautiful and so important. And I think people really respect that and love that. And so, again, that's just certainly something I noticed right away.
Yeah, I don't know. I like talking to people and like
Mm.
especially when everything happened to me and like I was taking things at like for granted, and then once it kind of that happened it kind of changed everything, and not only for myself but for the other guys in the band. Like we all kind of like that forced us into a position where we realize how precious life is, and like we want to be as impactful and as helpful as possible because things aren't great all the time. You know what I mean? And things suck and we struggle with it and we're human. And we wanted to be able to not put up this front that like we're stonewalling you, like we're not wanting to talk to anyone, like because we generally love talking to people like all the time.
Right.
So
Yeah, I definitely respect that. Do you mind sharing like how you're doing now with everything in your physical health journey?
So I actually just hit 3 years sober on the 26th of November. I honestly I didn't even realize it was the day until my wife mentioned it to me, and she made a post about it. Like I got up and I just did my normal stuff, and
Yeah,
then she was like, "What's today?" And I like looked down. I was like, "Holy cow!" Physically, I'm not 100%. I'm compensated. Like depending on that ratio determines life expectancy at that time
sure.
because I had done so much damage to myself. That's why they gave me that year. And then when I was in the hospital, like I realized, like I don't want this to be like not only waking up because I got admitted on the 26th, and then I didn't wake up till I don't even know when after. So I don't remember. There's bits and pieces that come back to me um like being taken down to do like CAT scans and CT scans. They're like really brief. Like it just feels like a dream. And so once we got all the information back, and like I said, like towards that back half of that first year, I started making a lot of decisions for myself as to what I wanted to do. Obviously, not continuing to drink was a big thing. And I had cut it off like from the second I got to the hospital, just because I realized that I was just trying to numb a lot of what was going on. Like I was just really down,
Yeah.
like in that headspace of just like not caring, um, and being in a place where the environment I was in, it was extremely toxic. So it was my way of coping with it. I would
Mm,
wake up and I would drink. I'd drink all day until I fell asleep. Like I would go to work drunk. Like I was like a supervisor. So like it's like, what in the hell am I even doing? And
mhm,
so when I came to it in the hospital, I was like, no, I'm done. Like you had your fun.
yeah.
You're gonna grow up. And then like I said, towards that back half um of 2022 or 2023, I actually this is what's crazy. So that's when I started TikTok and started UTA's TikTok. So I started posting on my personal page as well as UTA's page. I got this random follow on my personal page from someone who I thought I met in passing, like going to shows and stuff.
Sure.
And in her bio, she had special effects makeup artist. At that
Mm,
time, there was a band that's from where we're from who had just shot a music video. So I was like, oh, it's probably the same person who did their special effects because their
sure.
video has like a lot of gore and stuff in it.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So I added her and then I just waved. And then she waved back and I was like, hey, what's up? And then she was like, nothing. And then she just like ghosted me, right? And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. Like, and so the next day she messages me and she's like, hey, like, what's up? And I'm like, oh, I'm just hanging out, like, trying to figure out what I'm gonna do today.
Mhm.
And I was like, I have a question for you. And then she'll tell you her side of what she thought I was gonna ask, but what I was genuinely asking was I was like, hey, like, what should I make for dinner? Because at that time, with my recovery, I had to do like a low sodium diet, and I was trying to find
Mm.
different recipes. And she was like, what? She's like, make manicotti. And I was like, I don't have the stuff to make manicotti, but this is what I have. And so I messaged her and I was like, I bet I'm a better cook than you. Um, and so she messaged me back and she put, Sugar, I've been cooking since I was 12. And then I responded back to her and I was like, sweet talking you is not going to win you the contest. Like, that's not going to happen. So we started talking, found out that she wasn't who I thought she was. She was
Oh.
actually a makeup artist who lived in Arkansas. And now I I flew her out. We met at the beginning of August of 2023. I flew her out here the first week of October for a week. I went out and visited her in Little Rock and her family for a week for Thanksgiving. And then when I was there, I told her, I want you to come to visit me and my family for Christmas
Mm.
because we do it really big. My mom's birthday is on Christmas, so I was like, hey, come out here, let's have a good time. Let's just, I want you to experience it. And so she's like, okay. And then I told her, if you come out here in December, you're not going back to Little Rock, you're staying. And she was like, okay. So she flew out here in December of 2023 and we got married in March.
Oh my
So I met my wife because of TikTok and because of my band.
God. Wow.
It's insane. We've been married. It'll be 2 years. Yeah. We got married in 2024, March 8th, 2024. So this March will be 2 years. We actually just had we got married at the courthouse. And then
Mm.
this year in May, we had like the big wedding with all of our friends. So like all my guys got together.
Oh.
But yeah, it's like I said, like the band itself just took off and like it created so many beautiful things for me. Like,
Mm.
a lot of the friendships that I've gained from TikTok has just been crazy. But when I flew her out here, I told her, like at that time, they said still only giving me a year. Mind you,
Mm.
like when I was out there for Thanksgiving, right before I left, they're like, we give you another year because you've slowed down the progression enough where you need a liver transplant. We're gonna have to get you like I had to do referrals. So my specialist here sent off referrals to Arizona, Texas, as well as Colorado, and a lot of them were not like they were just denying my request to do an evaluation for a liver transplant. So they had given me like a second year. They're like, you have another year, and I'm like, okay. So I talked about it with Sarah, with my wife, and I was like, okay, so where do we go from here? Like, what do I do? Like I said, I slowed it down by doing like obviously not drinking, low sodium diets, watching what I eat. Like I can't eat like a lot of processed foods or anything like that. Trying to stay as active as possible. Mentally, I was in a way better headspace that second year. And then we went out and I did a liver evaluation in Colorado. They told me you've slowed it down enough where you don't necessarily need the transplant now. You may
Okay.
need it in the future. They still screen me for liver cancer because you're highly susceptible to it if you have what I have. So yeah, and then this last year, it's more the physical part, like my body's starting to finally like I can feel it. So, like, I'm fatigued all the time. I hate the fact that I can't work full time. Like, I can't. And it's not like my job is like super hard or anything like that. Like, I work for a bank. Like, but once my body is shot, like, and I push myself too much, it's like the equivalent of if you have let's say you have the flu and then just multiply like the body aches times 10. Like that's
Mm.
what my body feels like on a continuous basis. So we're trying to navigate through it currently and trying to figure out what we can do. My doctors did pull back a bunch of my medications and they were like, you don't need them. So my body's still trying to react to it. I think the biggest thing is just like staying active because what'll happen when you have liver cirrhosis is it will destroy your muscles as well. The reason why you feel fatigued and then I'm anemic on top of it. So like there's just so many things. So just trying to make sure that I'm staying on top of it. But like I feel okay the majority of the time.
Yeah.
Um, there are instances where there's a thing that happens called hepatic encephalopathy. It's like brain fog or brain confusion. So like that'll happen and sometimes I can catch it ahead of time and like be proactive with it. And
Okay.
sometimes it just hits me like a ton of bricks and like my wife is like, "Hey, like snap out of it." And I'm like, "I don't know what the hell's going on."
Mm.
So, yeah. But other than like the health stuff, like I feel okay and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. What a journey. I mean,
It's been crazy.
a
It's
lot of
it's
ups
crazy.
and downs, and so many things have happened for you in recent years.
Yeah, I think like once I started making decisions for myself and doing stuff, because I was like a huge people pleaser. So like that was the reason why I was in that headspace in that toxic environment to begin with, is I didn't care about what I wanted. I cared about what everyone around me wanted. And what I noticed early on was, well, not even early on, because I was still in that headspace, is like a lot of the energy that I was giving was not reciprocated. Right before I met Sarah, I had a sit down with the person I lived with, and I kind of laid everything out and was like, they gave me a year. This is what I want for myself. You either want it or you don't want it. And the person was like, I don't care. Like, I don't care. And I
Mm.
was like, okay, cool. So once I started talking to Sarah and I laid everything out to her, she was just supportive. She's like, we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna get through it. Like,
Mm.
she was on board with it. And I told her, I said, I could go at any time. Like, I want you to understand that, like, tomorrow for me is not promised. And it's not promised for everyone, but like, it's not promised for me,
Right.
and the chances of me making it past this time frame that they're giving me is very slim. And she was so supportive from the beginning. I started to make those decisions for myself, and then like the UTA stuff started popping off. Like I
Yeah.
met her, like I did all this other stuff. And it's just like once I started taking care of myself in that way and being able to be happy, like everything just changed. And it's just like it opened so many doors and so many opportunities that it's just like I absolutely love life. Like yes,
Well,
we do have rough days.
yeah.
And that's one thing that we talk about, like with our new material, is like like kind of like I don't want to say rebirth, but growth and understanding and all of that stuff, and looking back and realizing that you can always take those steps to make the decisions for
Mhm.
yourself and making sure that you're happy at the end of the day because like you live with yourself, you're in your body. But like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, 100%. That's so important to remember. And it's interesting to kind of look back and see, like, oh, this is the point in my life where I started taking care of myself. And then I started receiving the things that I deserve.
it's crazy. And what we actually just had this discussion, Sarah and I, because I was telling her like within that first year what happened, and we were
Mhm.
kind of going over the like the last three. And I told her, I said, when I started making decisions, I started to realize a lot of the people that weren't reciprocating the support started to hate me. And I was like, they started to hate me because they realized that I wasn't just a doormat. Like I was standing up for myself and I was saying like, no, I'm not gonna have it. Like I'm not gonna be like messed with. I'm not gonna be toyed with. Like I'm making the decisions for myself. And I
Yeah.
was getting a lot of the friendships that I had back then weren't even we were glorified drinking buddies at best. We weren't
Mhm.
friends. We just hung out and got wasted together. And I was like, and now that like I'm no longer doing that, they don't like it because I'm doing things that are bettering myself and they're stuck. And like it sucks. Like I wish that they would have the hindsight to realize what they're doing, but
Right.
that's not my place to like tell them get your shit together. Like stop doing it because like it took me almost dying to realize that myself. And I
Mhm.
thought that like it would have that like that them seeing the struggles that I was going through, but they didn't even care about it. So like they don't. It's yeah, it's hard to have people see just how beautiful life can be when they're stuck like that.
Absolutely. And misery loves company, right? I have 7 years clean, so
Hell yeah, let's go.
I get where you're coming from, right? Kind of like similar to what you were saying with the people pleasing and whatnot. And then coming out of it, it was like, oh, like there is people that do truly love me and care for me, but they're not in that circle.
Yeah. Like I'm always curious as to like what sparked people's interest in certain things.
Hmm.
Like for me, I honestly like up until the age of like I don't even know, like 24, like I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't do anything.
Sure.
Um and then it just kind of changed overnight. Like I had someone tell me to end my life, and I had like I hit like a really low part where I was stuck in a hotel. I went down to the hotel bar, and I didn't even know what a drink was. I knew that, you know what I mean? And I told them I was like, make whatever. And I remember like sitting there, and they gave me cranberry vodka, and I remember like having a few of them going back up to stumbling back to get back up to the hotel room, and then I was just like, what the hell? Like this is awesome. Like cool.
Mm.
And then it spiraled from there. And then like it got to the point where I was using it way more than I should have. Like I was waking up I was waking up and I would like I would smoke and then I would go to work, I'd smoke, and then when I was at work, right before I went in, I would down like a pint of vodka, cheap
Mm.
vodka. Then I would like 3.5 hours in, we would take like a break, like a 15. There was a liquor store that was right on the street, so I would go and I'd pick up another one. And then we'd go to lunch a few hours later, I'd go and I'd pick up another one. And it just became like they knew me by name at that liquor store. Like and then it got to the point where pints weren't enough. Like I had to up it. So I was getting bottles and bottles and bottles. I remember like one specific time with it, Sarah was visiting and we were actually it was right before we moved into the house we're in now. So I had already been sober at that point, but I didn't realize in my stupid mindset of being hammered all the time that I had hidden a bunch in random places in my like in my
Mm.
room or in different places. So once we started moving stuff out, she started finding like half empty bottles and stuff like that. And she's like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "No, like I didn't. I promise, like I didn't do this. Like where was it?" And she's like, "Oh, it was underneath, in between like your mattress and the bed." Okay, like
Yeah, so I pretty much have always had an addictive personality. I knew that. But I mean, I really believe that addiction is a family disease, both in the sense that it's hereditary and that it affects everybody that's involved, right? Anybody who's directly related to or involved with the person that's using is impacted by it because it sucks. But really, it started out like partying, I was young. Like, I just wanted the party to keep going, and like it wouldn't stop for me the way that it would the people that were hanging out. So then somebody introduced me to another substance, and then they introduced me to another substance. Complete takeoff from there, right?
Yeah,
So it was just a pretty miserable existence, kind of like what you were describing. Like I said, I grew up around people in recovery, so I knew where to go, I knew what to do. I just had to be ready to do it. But then all of a sudden, it just kind of like clicked for me, and I was able to get help. So I just really relied on recovery programs and meetings.
it's cool that like you because it's not cool, but it's cool in a way where you understand where they're coming from and you're able to relate. And I think that that's one thing that when I first started talking about my story on TikTok, that I was looking for people who were in similar situations.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like being new to things like that or being trying to break habits, and especially with things that are like that, like you want to be able to look at somebody else's journey and be like, okay, so like this is how they're able to navigate through it. Maybe some of these things I can use myself towards it.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. And being able to, like, being understood and being able to understand is really one of the most beautiful gifts I think life has to offer. And you can really build a community off of that shared pain or that shared experience. So I definitely see that.
So I was like, I'm done. Like,
Mhm.
I had my fun. And waking up like in the hospital was not fun. Like it wasn't fun. They had it because like I had not only were my liver and my kidneys failing, I had three tears in my esophagus. And since I was anemic, I was passing blood. My oxygen levels were low. Like
Yeah.
waking up in that state and like being like, what the hell just happened? And then them kind of explaining, you did this, and then it sucked because my mom is the one who actually took me. Like leading up until when I got placed in the hospital, I started to notice some things. I started to notice that my eyes were getting yellow, my
Mm.
clothes weren't fitting, my feet and my legs, my abdomen was like super swollen.
Yeah.
And so I told my mom, and I had gone to like just like a regular like a clinic that was right next to my house, and they were like, "Oh, you have a UTI," and I'm like, "This is not a UTI." Like I
Mm.
even told them, and then they were like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "This isn't this," and they're like, "Well, here's the antibiotics for it, just you're good." And I'm like, but so I was insistent. They did blood work, and then they're like, "We'll get it back to you in a couple of days." And I was like, "All right, cool." And like I had gone like on a Thursday or something. The following week, I just waited, nothing, nothing, nothing. And then on the 26th, that day, I called and was like, "Hey, nobody's called me. What are my results? Like, what's going on with me?" And they were like, "Nobody reached out to you." And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "You need to get to the hospital now. Like, get somebody to take you to the ER." And I was like, "Okay." But that week before, I was still going hard. So like
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was because of my drinking. Like I had subconsciously I knew it was something that had to do with it. And then when I got there and then like I guess when I was there and they were doing certain procedures to me, so one of them being an endoscopy to see where the tears were to like actually suture the thing. They put what are called bands on the inside of my esophagus. I came to. They completely sedated me. I came to and I started swinging on doctors. I started pulling the instruments out of my mouth. I started pulling
Mhm.
all of the IVs out of my arms. And then I guess like the following days, my mom's the one who was there watching all of this happen. She had no idea. Like they had no idea that any of what was going on was going on. They didn't know that my drinking had gotten to that part. They didn't even know that I was drinking as much as I was or drinking at all. But she saw me like they had to put me in like this crazy supervised room because I was getting really aggressive with like the nurses. I would strip down and like start fighting people. And I don't remember any of this. Like my mom has the videos of me like lashing out or even just talking, and I'm like, I don't remember any of that. And so when I finally came to, the doctors were like, because you're going through alcohol withdrawals. They were like, it was not only that, but we had to sedate you numerous times, which is why you don't remember much of like anything because you were
Mm-hmm.
getting violent because you're having alcohol withdrawals. I don't know. It was just, it was crazy. But like after that happened, and like me and my guys had like a sit down and talk. Fernando, our guitar player, around the same time decided that he was going to sober up too. And so like we were kind of on the journey together too with it. Um, I felt like it strengthened the bond that we already had. Because you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like being in a band where we're all best friends, but at the same time, like we all have our own lives that we're living. And with him being in Phoenix, like it sucked. And then when all of this stuff happened, like it honestly, it strengthened a bond between him and I that is like, he was the best man at my wedding.
Mm, yeah.
Like, and it's funny because he jokes with my wife and he's like, I had him before you had him. He's mine. So
Of
like that's like
course.
it's a funny inside joke. So like if you ever watch us on TikTok live or anything, like we crack a lot of really stupid jokes like that. And it's just because that's just our relationship. Uh, like we're supposed to go and visit them, and Fernando was like, because he has his girl, and her name's Sarah too. So he's like, our Sarahs can go sleep in the other room together. We're gonna stay together. And then so like we cracked really just stupid funny jokes, but honestly it strengthened our relationship. I think we had more of an understanding. And like when we were writing material before, like even when we were writing Malevolent Eyes, we butted heads a lot. Both of us are extremely stubborn, and like at that time, like I wanted my way or no way. And like he
Mm,
was the same way. So like writing material with two people that were just constantly butting heads was really hard. And now like we're to a place where we have writing sessions on Zoom and I'm like, hey, try this. No, try this. Or like he'll write something and I'm like, do you feel comfortable playing it? Do you feel comfortable? He's like, I don't know. I was like, then don't do it. I want you to be comfortable and I want you to be happy with what you're doing. And like that relationship is just like it's so awesome. And a lot of the friendships that I had before I started drinking came back like tenfold.
yeah.
So it's just cool.
Yeah, absolutely. That shift generally happens, right? Like if we're actively using or drinking, we're generally pushing the people that care about us most away.
Yeah, that's where like my parents didn't really know. There was even parts, so during COVID, towards the end of COVID, I moved back in with my parents and I was staying there and they didn't even know. Like I would go to the gas station and I'd come home and I'd like hide a bunch of bottles and stuff and so like no one they just thought that I was just being like super like introverted, like leave me alone. And
Mhm.
I'm like
Sure.
they had no idea. And then once everything happened and I told them like this is what was going on, they were like, now it makes sense. Now we
Mm,
get why you were pushing away. You didn't want like my family does a thing every Sunday where they get together for breakfast. And like even when I was living there, like I wouldn't come out of the room. Like I literally would just be like, no, I don't want to do this. And now like me and my wife get up early and go every Sunday to go have breakfast with my parents now. Like
wow.
so yeah, it's cool. Like it's cool that all of that came back because
Yeah.
like it's just the person who officiated our wedding has been a friend of mine since I was in high school. So like she's my hairstylist person. But like she's been there since I was young to now and she's like I'm so proud of like the person that you are now. She's like you were kind of an asshole. And I'm like, well, I kind of was, but
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and we need to be reminded of that too, right? It
yeah,
it, it comes up, but having these people that truly support us and love us for who we are now is it's really cool to see, and you can't really get that anywhere else.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, well, it sounds like, I mean, your sobriety literally turned your life around in so many
yeah.
ways. That's incredible.
It really, really did. And it if anyone is like people that are watching this, like if you struggling with it, you don't know where to start, reach out to myself. You can reach out to her. You can reach out to
Yeah.
anyone. There's so many different outlets, and I didn't realize that I had them all. there's so many people that want to help. And it's just like, if you're struggling and you want help, find whatever means to get the help that you need. Like that's the most important thing because it's so hard when you don't know where to turn and you feel like your only escape is to continue to do what you're doing. There's so many options. There's so many caring people. Like it's crazy.
100%. Yeah, there's a lot less stigma around this today, like because people are coming forward and sharing about their experiences. I mean, it's still always going to be out there, but I'm noticing kind of a shift in talking about the dark side of life.
Yeah, that's what we're kind of incorporating with like our new music is like that being raw and being like very upfront and transparent with what's going
Mhm.
on. So, and I think that that's kind of what's drawing people into our stuff is like we're not scared to like tell it how we're telling it because it's real life. Like if you're able to relate with it and you pull something from it, it helps you. That's what we want. Like
Yeah.
110%. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to ask when it comes to like the mental battle of becoming sober, what was that like for you? I know you wanted it, but were there times where it proved really difficult?
Um, kind of. So I didn't really know what I was gonna do. I became a creature of habit, and it just so in order for me to kind of explain it, it's gonna make the person who I was living with seem like a really trash person. But when I first started drinking, hanging out with this group of friends, there was one individual who would sabotage a lot of the relationships I was having, whether I was like dating or just like being exclusive with someone. There was always like the sabotaging going on from this person, and she didn't like the fact that like I was giving other people attention. I'm breaking down that barrier. Like now that I look back on it, I know what she was doing. She was just trying to keep me alone. It kind of came to like a peak. She would try to sabotage the relationship with Sarah, with my wife. She
Mhm.
would try to face like Sarah and I used to do this thing every night, because being in a long distance relationship sucks. So we'd FaceTime every night, and my roommate would literally kick in my door and be like, "Hey, blah blah blah," like trying to like create that distance. The right before I brought Sarah out here, I was like,
Mhm.
even when I approached you initially, told you that I could be dying, like, and I laid everything out, you didn't want it. Like, so now that I'm making the decision for myself, you're pissed off. And she ran her mouth to a bunch of our friends. That first, like, being in that house and in that environment, I didn't know what to do. So with the sobriety and like the mental part, I took to Tumblr to post like a lot of things that like and I created this anonymous Tumblr. My wife knows about it, but nobody else really knows that I run this Tumblr. But at that time, like I was extremely depressed. Like I had just gotten out of the hospital. I didn't have support. It was a very, very toxic place. And during
Mhm.
that, I was posting on Tumblr that I wish I would have died. Like I wish that I would have just like why am I doing any of this? So I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I knew that I was done drinking. I wasn't going to go back to it. I just, it was really hard to find avenues. And that's why, like, one thing that we push a lot towards on social media, my wife, myself, like UTA's page, there's so many people that are wanting to help and are able, and those resources are there. I just
Mhm.
didn't know where to go. I
Mm.
didn't know where to go. I felt like I was like everything was just collapsing. Like I didn't know what I was gonna do. Like I said, they given me a year, so like I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do? It sucks. I didn't want my mom to have to bury me. Like I didn't want any of this stuff to happen. And once I was able to connect with people like that through TikTok, when it came to like the liver cirrhosis stuff and the recovery part of it, and learning that recovery is a day-to-day thing. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna struggle with it every single day, and it's gonna suck some days, and some days it's gonna be a cakewalk, and some days it's gonna be hard. Like just taking it in strides and taking it day by day, like it helps so much.
Yeah.
And I think that that's kind of where I started to realize that like, okay, I got to make these moves because if not, like nothing is gonna be productive for me.
Yeah, nothing would change.
Yeah,
Be stuck in that place, and that's not a life worth living.
it wasn't, especially on when was borrowed time at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And you turned it around, and how incredible.
It's nuts. It's crazy. And I thought about like the last 3 years, like I said, it's really, really crazy to think about it. And it feels like a lifetime ago. It doesn't feel real. Like I don't remember what it feels like to feel like that. Like now, like I get up, I have my wife. I'm a stepdad to three amazing fucking kids. Like it's crazy. And like my kids, like our kids are older. So our oldest is 19. Our middle child will be 18 in January, and then we got a younger one. And so like our to know that our kids are seeing how good their parents are doing, because like Sarah has dealt with the recovery part of it, and then now like she's not in an environment like an abusive environment or doing any of this stuff, which is what they're used to seeing, and seeing her thrive and then seeing me thrive, like it gives our kids like it brings so much joy. And it's just like it's cool because now she has a relationship back with her kids because there for a long time she didn't.
Mm.
And so it's just I don't know, like everything kind of just started, everything just became so fucking awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing all of that with me.
Yeah.
So inspiring.
Yeah.
I was curious to know, has your relationship changed? And if so, how with, like putting out music, creating music, all of that, when you look at it from like being sober versus drinking?
So the shift I think that happened for us is when I was writing songs before because I was just angry, pissed off, and drinking all the time. I
Yeah,
was writing songs that were directed at people or mainly relationships, which is like typically what people pull from.
right.
I think now, I think that my guys could agree, like just that growth. Like even with the two new songs that we released, Dead Weight and Flowers, like they're very self-reflective and just realizing like how precious life is. Like it's just, I don't know, it's crazy.
Yeah, and it's cool that you guys can relate on that experience of life changing as you're putting this out, as you're putting it into words and putting music out for other people to connect with.
Yeah, and I think the really cool thing is too, like we knew what we wanted to do when we started writing the new material. Because like after Malevolent Eyes, we wrote another album, just Fernando and myself. But it felt so like because we were doing the stuff, stupid stuff we were doing, it felt like it wasn't us. Like it
Mm,
felt like we were detached. It was material we were writing, but it wasn't us. Like it wasn't hitting the way it should. And now like it hits and like I send lyrics to Fernando all the time and I'm like, hey, like, this is what I want to write about. This is the topic I want to discuss. And when we released the new songs, one thing that I noticed, we had some people who did like reactions to it, and there was a person who did a reaction. She works for some, it's like it was like a thing on Twitch. Like they
mm,
do like a live thing and then they bring like A&R guests and like label guests. And she read the lyrics and she's like, I wouldn't have understood what the song was about until I read the lyrics. And she's like, this is raw. Like, this is raw. This is in your face. This isn't scared to tell it how it is. And even one of the guys was like, imagine what's going through the head of the vocalist when he's writing this. It's just straight to the point. Like, in your face, this is what it is. And then even like Flowers, I don't know if you've seen the music video for it. So like at the end we have like the suicide prevention hotline, like reaching help. That was one thing that we wanted to do because I wanted to make sure that people understood what that song was about, which is substance abuse and just in general, and realizing that you're not alone. And
mm,
that there's a part in that song where there's just those lyrics over it that says that because like it's being so like the premise of the music video, if you haven't seen it, anyone hasn't seen it, is this guy breaks up with a girl, or this person breaks up with this girl, and she starts using different substances to try to pretty much numb herself. And then she realizes that she doesn't need any of those things, that she's fine, and that she's not alone. And then at the end, it has the message with the hotline. And I don't know if the hotline is still even on, but just we want to give that hope. Like
mhm.
that's always something that's been there, and now like the new material is like we want to be like that. Like that's we're not going to be scared to be vulnerable. Like We don't like a lot of the stuff that I write is like very metaphorical and it's just my writing style. But like you ask us what the song is about, we'll tell you what the song is about. And before we never were like that. We'd be like, you take from it whatever you want to take from it. And I think it came across like a lot of people there. I remember I tuned into somebody's live on TikTok and he's watching these videos and I told him to watch that one. And at the end, he just like he had tears in his eyes and
Mm.
he's like, you have no idea how close this hits. And I was like, and I was sitting there with my wife and I was showing, and he's like, we need more of this. Like, we need more of this. Like, bands that want to help, they want to do this. And he's like, because there's just so much mundane crap now that like authenticity and like the want to help other people is not there anymore. Like, it's so detached and the way that social media is now, like you just scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll, you know?
Right.
So it's just like super like disassociated. I don't know. I hope that our music kind of brings comfort to people or hope or inspiration.
Yeah, 100%. I've been listening to you guys for a little while now and it's incredible. Dead weight, I've been bumping a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Deadweight is actually a continuation of it wasn't intended. So it's kind of crazy how that song happened.
Okay.
So initially that song, we had been working on it like over and over and over and over.
Hmm.
Like I'm never happy with what we release. Like I hold on. Okay, so let me step back. Up until now, I was never happy with what we released. Like I was always nitpicking things with our songs. Fernando was like that too, like the instrumental wise.
Sure.
And so this song had been a song that we had been working on for like the last, I don't even know, like 5, 6 years. It started as one thing and then it changed. And then it started as another thing and then I would write lyrics to it and then it'd be like, no. And so he had sent over like so we have like version one, version two, like we have like so many different versions.
Yeah.
He sent me the last demo version of it like at the beginning of the year and it just sat in my inbox and I listened to it and I'm like, I can't write to this. I can't write to this. Like I'm struggling to write with this dude. Like I can't. And so Mark, who's the guy that records us, he doesn't live he's from the town that I live in, the city I'm in, but he moved to New York to pursue music, and he's actually touring with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Amazing.
Yeah, he's the pianist and it's crazy because he's been with UTA since the very beginning. So like he was the first
Oh,
one to ever record us. He was the first one to do anything. So like out of the blue one day, he calls me and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna be in town for a week. Let's record something."
hmm.
And I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna record. Like at this point, like we have so many demos, but I'm like I told Sarah, I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I haven't been back in a studio to record anything in so long. Like, I don't even know how to approach this. Like, it feels brand new to me. And so I called Fernando. I'm like, dude, Mark wants to record. What do you have that's like a full, like, completed? And he's like, I sent it to you already. And I'm like, what song? He's like, the song that you were struggling to write.
Yeah.
So, at that time, right before Deadweight, I had written the song. I had started to piece it together. About 2 weeks leading up to when we recorded it, I decided that I was going to cut ties with my biological dad. And so that song is actually written about that that subject. But if you look at so the reason why I say it's a continuation of another song is because in the way that I write is really weird. So Inheritance it was originally about my dad and being upset and being angry and the song being directed at the person. And then Deadweight is more of self-reflection and realizing like I don't want to be like that. And there's some
Mm.
lines in that song that are actual lines pulled from Inheritance. So in Inheritance, one of the opening lines is, I can't believe my father's shame still lingers in my skin, is like the opening line to Inheritance. In Deadweight, I say that line again, but I use it in a different way. I think I say, the shame still lingers as fresh as it did yesterday. So like I'm referencing that other song, but you wouldn't know unless we told you. So the 2 weeks leading up until when Mark got here, that happened, and I completely severed ties with him. And I sent my dad like this long text message and was like, "You don't take accountability for your actions. You're not a parent. You want to be a friend. I'm not your friend. I'm your son. You have
Mhm.
to like take accountability for your actions and realize that you fucked up. And if you're not gonna do that, then I'm done." Because he went off on me about something, and I told him, I said, he went off because I was supposed to go and show up to help him do something. I had a really bad day that day. Sarah had to work. So Sarah, like my dad lives like an hour away from me. And so Sarah was like, I don't feel comfortable with you driving. You're putting other people at risk. I don't want you driving out there. What happens if it hits you and you get lost? She's like,
Yeah.
I'm not there. So I messaged my dad and I'm like, hey, I can't make it. And so he responds back and he's like, don't ever reach out to me again. Don't call me.
Mm.
Don't ask for help. Don't do any of this stuff. And so I wrote him this message and was like, this is the last, like I gave it about a month from when that happened to see if he was going to reach out to me. He didn't. And one night it just kind of festered over, and I wrote him this message and I was like, you don't take accountability for your actions. You don't realize that you messed up. You ignore it, and you're wanting to continue to think, pretend that everything is okay when it's not. And I was
Mhm.
like, for a person who's worried about my recovery, and then I tell you that I'm having a hard day, or my wife tells you I'm having a hard day, and for you to bypass it because you're upset with me, and then tell me, don't reach out to me, don't contact me, don't do this, I'm giving you what you want. I'm done. And so I read that text over and over and over to myself, and then I just happened to write everything in dead weight. And I went out there with Mark, and I showed him the song, and he was like, "This is it." And the
Mhm.
second that we started recording, like, he's like, "Do you have to warm up? Do you have to do anything?" And I was like, "I don't want to warm up. I don't want to do this." I was like, "I want to go in as hard as I can. I'm gonna like just if I blow my vocals out, like I'll do it. Like I gotta get this out." And he's like, "All right." And so Sarah was sitting behind me, and I'm sitting there just screaming at the microphone. And there's a part in the song that like I held out like this super long scream, and Mark's like, I'm done. Mark hits stop, and then he turns around and he looks at me, and he's like, what the fuck just happened? And I'm like, I don't know. He's like, dude, he's like, you're back. And I was like, I'm back.
Mhm.
I'm back. And he's like, you're back to being like you are. He's like, can you do that again? And I was like, I can try. And Sarah's behind me and she's cracking up and she's like, I've never seen, because she'd never seen me record. So
Yeah.
she's like, to see me in that element, she's like, you could feel it in
Mhm.
Deadweight. Deadweight took like almost 9 hours to record just because like I said, I was nitpicking with what I was doing. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, the timing doesn't feel right. This feels off. This feels off. And then Mark, him being classically trained, he's not gonna release something or like let something slide, like he's like no. So once we got to a place where like we listened back to it and it was like the super raw version, I was like, that's it, I'm done. And he's like, all right. And then I was like, you think we can record one more? And he's like, I don't know, maybe. He's like, you have to give me a couple of days. He's like, because tomorrow I'm busy. And he's like, can
Mhm.
you come back the following day? He's like, but we're not gonna have like 9 hours to record. And I'm like, okay. I came home, I wrote Flowers, which was another song that we had record or demoed, and we actually demoed it during COVID. The song was called Gloom. Originally, it was called Gloom, and then I scrapped it and I wrote the song was called This Hell Is Home, and it was written about writer's block. And so I wrote that song, and when I got to the studio, I was like, I'm not gonna title it This Hell Is Home. I'm gonna pull from what's going on with me and my guys. And so I wrote the song then and there in the studio with Mark. I had a couple ideas like lyric wise, like if you do like just little bullet points, and we wrote it. Mark helped me write it, but I knew that I wanted to use the line "This hell is home." And so in that song there's that line, which is originally the title of what that song was supposed to be. So
Right.
it's just kind of cool how everything it just kind of played out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark, like after we recorded everything, Mark was like, he's like, I've never been more proud of like releasing and recording you guys' stuff. And
Mhm.
he's like, to listen to you guys' growth, to listen to what you guys are talking about, to like feel. He's like, you had the emotions in the songs before. That was anger. He's like, this is different. And
Mhm.
he's like, it's crazy. I touched on one of our recent TikToks about recording new material. Um, and we have to wait for him to be done doing his tour before we can actually do anything because I'm not gonna
Yeah.
pull from him out there just jamming it out with Trans-Siberian Orchestra. So.
Of course, yeah. Well, at times we should be on the lookout for, or just kind of hang out and wait.
Um, so I don't have a specific timeline. We've got like we have this interview and then I have another one set up with like another one, but like just stay with us on TikTok, which is like the most consistent thing that I'm on. I do post on Instagram as well as Facebook. Facebook for us is kind of like it kind of just died down. We do have a Twitter. We rarely post on there, though I feel like I should, or it's not Twitter anymore, it's X. Uh, it shows how long we've been using Twitter for, but
Right.
yeah, we don't really like we post on there, but I feel like the feed for X is like a little bit different, and it's hard you're like a bigger man who has like that following. It's
Hmm.
harder to connect with people. But TikTok is where you can find us. If you ever write comments to us, it's me who's responding the majority of the time. Unless one of my guys posts a video and then they're on the profile from like for a couple of hours after the video is posted. You can typically tell by who's responding by our responses. Typically, my responses will have like I like to use this little emoji a bunch. I don't know why. I think it's funny. So like if you ever get like this emoji or like the one where it's like the guy blowing like the smoke out of his
Yeah.
nose, like the angry one, that's me. Fernando will use hearts and like a bunch of random like emojis. If you ever see one that's
Aw.
like a cat emoji, that's Fernando. That's not me. He loves cats. So like, but TikTok is where we're like more most active. We do have a couple of challenges for the two songs that we do have. We have the Deadweight Challenge, which is like a glow up challenge. So it's like show a picture from you like 10 years back to now, like the glow up, like the transformation challenge. And
Mhm.
then the one for flowers is a little bit different. You can still kind of do it. There's some examples that we do have. I think it's like one of our top 10 videos. But that idea actually came from my wife and her friends because they have like their own little. I don't know if you've seen their thing. It's called, well, they do a thing called Tea Time on Tuesdays.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's Sarah, Brittany, Shauna, and Carissa all do
Okay.
Tea Time. Yeah.
Oh, so cool.
So they're the ones who came up with the idea for that challenge. I let them run with it. I was like, you guys come up with something for us and then run with it.
Yeah.
They're the ones who came up with that one. But
Amazing.
yeah, if you guys use our audio, we'll always repost it. We always repost it. We always share. We always follow back. The part that's the hardest is like if you send messages to us, because we follow so many people, we get like a lot of automated ones. So I have to
Mhm.
go through and try to like filter as much as I can because we get like some random like if we give you $3,000, what are you gonna do with it? And like all those like spam ones. So I have to
Yeah.
filter through all of those. It's easier just to comment because I'll get the notification and then go look. And then if
Okay.
you said you send us a message, I can go and find it that way. Um, but yeah, if you use it, if you have us on Instagram, tag us in it or put us as a collaborator, we'll accept it and post it on our timeline and post it on all of our socials because we're all about like you're supporting us and putting our stuff out there. We're gonna support you and put your stuff out there too. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's all about just the community and helping. So yeah,
For sure. Absolutely. Thanks for all of that. If you could say one thing, one sentence to someone going through it right now, what would it be?
you're not alone. There's always help. It's not one sentence, but you're not alone. There's other days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well,
And
thank
I
you so
can
much.
attest to it. I can attest to it
Exactly.
because look,
You are living proof of that
yep,
statement.
true story.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so
Do
much. I
you
really appreciate it.
do you have any final questions you'd like to ask? I feel like I
No,
just rambled a bunch.
no, it was amazing. And that's the purpose of this. I want to give you guys a platform to really share because that's how we provide hope.